Jake, the people have spoken.
Absolutely, Blake. We asked and you answered, and people overwhelmingly want unique decks spotlighted in Standard.
So grab your spelunking gear, because this week we're diving into caves. Greetings, Goblins and Geist. Today we'll be doing something a little bit different. So we have a unique deck spotlight. We haven't done one of these before, so if you do like this kind of thing, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it.
We certainly do. And also, we want you to know that we listened to our subscribers. We polled our audience, and you guys gave us great feedback. In fact, that's why we're bringing this to you. You most voted on wanting a unique deck to play in Standard. Also, special shout out to our friend from our local game store, Nicola. This one's for you.
All right, Jake, so we have the really unique Caves deck in front of us. Walk me through it. Like, start with the low mana cost, because I don't really know too much about this deck.
Absolutely, Blake. This deck is a lot of fun. It is definitely something you could say is unique to play in Standard, because it is sort of a land-based strategy. But if we want to talk about just the low curve stuff, your core card is actually Glimpse the Core, rather.
Yeah.
And this can do two things. It can just ramp you, sort of old-style Rampant Growth or Farseek, but you can only get a basic forest, but it's fine. It does put it on the battlefield tap, so
Okay.
a perfectly serviceable ramp card.
Gotcha.
Or, late game, depending on the game state, you can sort of reanimate one of your caves. You can put a cave from your graveyard back onto the battlefield.
Oh, that's fancy with the hideaway stuff.
Absolutely. Fancy with your hidden lands that you're going to be cycling through. And then you have a suite of targeted removal. This particular list that we went with is 1 Get Lost and 3 Go for the Throat, so pretty standard.
Yeah.
But you'll see that this deck has a lot of recursion with the graveyard, so you are a Shigeki deck.
Yeah, I do know Shigeki, and this card is awesome. I love the big old snake druid, man.
Yeah. And just either ability on this card is very beneficial for this deck, but there are really specific cards that you want to channel and get back and things of that nature.
Okay.
So moving on, your 3-drops are actually a really kind of powerhouse.
Yeah, both of these are really good, and I used them during Limited.
Yeah. Yeah, these are both powerhouse spells, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Spelunking being the even more powerful of the two
This one's
most
phenomenal.
of the time. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
When you curve out into this, not only are you ramping, but most of the time you're gaining 4 life so that you're not like dirtling as much, and you can keep up with the aggro decks. And then Bat Colony is actually just kind of like a side win condition.
It is really cool. It almost reminds me of a wedding announcement.
Yeah,
But
it's kind of like
obviously-
wedding announcement.
It's an uncommon. So, with being an uncommon, this is phenomenal. Like,
Yeah.
This is a really good card.
Yeah, and so far, everything we've went over, we just have 3 rares, so not that crazy yet on the actual build of this deck. And Bat Colony, it does, in my opinion, 2 things. If you are in a game state where you need to be the aggressor, this is, like I said, kind of a win condition. Or even if you're just playing it for 3 mana and you use 3 caves, get 3 bats to chump with until you have bigger things to do, it can do that.
Awesome.
So it's really fun. Now, your ability to stay in the game, Calamitous Cave-In.
So this is your board wipe.
This is your board wipe. And it really and truly is a board wipe. You will easily get to game states where you can destroy, 7, 8 toughness creatures with this. You can destroy Atroxes. You can get rid of people's herd migrations. You can get rid of all the mono red creatures. It also hits planeswalkers, so really good against Wandering Emperor.
I didn't see that. That's cool.
And this is something that you will want to probably end up recurring depending on the game state. This is like you draw one of them, you use it early so you don't die, you continue to build out your mana base with your caves, you get it back with Shigeki, things of that nature. Now,
very cool. So I do know the next card, the Cosmium Confluence.
yes.
This is one of the cards I saw people like really hyping on, and it never got any play, and obviously it found its home. This is a cool one for sure.
It's a cool one, and I think it's really beautiful on the deck, Blake, because I love just the decision tree that it creates for the player. So Standard has a ton of enchantments, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned Wedding Announcement, but also Virtue of Persistence. So all the cycle of virtues that you might run into, ossifications that you might run into. There's a lot of things that you can blow up with it. But really, just ramping, I've cast it for 5 mana, and you just put 3 caves on the battlefield just to like hyper ramp yourself. And then depending on the game state as well, if you already have a ton of mana, you could just make a 9/9 cave.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I was like, can you just like make a 9/9 cave and kill your opponent?
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on what you got going on, or you could distribute them. So there's just cool things you can do there. You have just 2 other spells in the deck, and they're kind of deceitfully up here because in reality you've got the Gargantuan Leech, which you can sometimes expect to play for 3 and 4 mana, but this guy is just a big fat lifelink creature.
Yep.
And it keeps you in the game, and it costs 1 less for each cave. So there are actual scenarios where it costs 1 black, but very frequently it could cost like 4 mana. And then this is a Sky Turtle deck, so similar to Shigeki, this is a way for the 3 mana channel to get your Calamitous Cave-In back, get your Cosmium Confluence back. You can do all kinds of cycles with Shigeki, 2 cards back to your hand, and then channel this to get Shigeki back, and just trying to keep your churning through. And then early game, if you have to, say against mono red or something, it can be a 2 mana bounce their creature.
A little bit of removal.
So last but not least, the whole reason you're playing this deck is the caves, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the case.
Yeah, that's the case. And so you have, as far as your land suite, we don't even normally spend as much time on it, but you have 4 basic forests, pretty straightforward, because of the Glimpse of the Core. Yep, so that you can ramp. And then you have your suite of the common caves.
The hidden caves,
yeah. And so you have all of these, and they all do the same thing, and they're just different colors, and they're fixing. But these are 5 tap it, only as a sorcery, but sack it and discover 4. And sometimes it can be, a little mediocre. You can, hit like Glimpse of the Core and things like that. But sometimes it can be really good. You can hit Spelunking, which even late is pretty decent. And then you can hit Calamitous Cave-In off of it.
I was about to say you can just once again hit Calamitous Cave-In.
Yep.
It really just destroys all win conditions minus enchantments, but you have plenty of removal already.
Yeah, so it keeps you in the game. Really fun. And then, of course, the later the game that goes, the Glimpse of the Cores can start putting these back on the battlefield for you.
Yeah.
If that's how you're spending your mana.
This deck has a lot of recursion.
It does. It has a lot of recursion. And then you've got just another couple of cool lands. Your Forgotten Monument is a cave. This is just an uncommon cave, but this makes your mana at a price rainbow lands. So this fixes you automatically.
So
you just draw one of these. Yeah, it's your pain land, and it turns any cave into a pain land.
Very cool.
Which is fascinating. And this one comes in untapped, which is really critical because all of these lands come in tapped. So, you're sequencing. You want to probably play one of these on turn 1 since you don't run any 1-drops. Sunken Citadel is, one of the only other rares in the deck with like Cosmium Confluence.
Mm-hmm.
And what's neat about this is it is a fixing land. Of course, you choose the color that you might be missing from your draw. But it says add 2 mana of the chosen color to activate lands. So it ramps you into your Discover ability. And then what's really neat is it interacts perfectly with Cavernous Maw.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like one of your main win conditions for the deck, Blake, because it's a cave that you can obviously fetch out with Cosmium Confluence. You can fetch it from your graveyard with Glimpse the Core, and it's just a little 3/3 beater, and only 2 to activate. You have to have X number of caves, which is 3 or greater, but you pretty much always do.
Yeah, you quickly get the ramp for that.
You quickly get the ramp for it. So, I mean, you just start swinging. This is like one of your, like I said, your main win conditions. It blocks really well.
Yeah.
And then if you have Sunken Citadel and this out, instead of actually taxing yourself 2 mana to activate, you just tap this and animate it for like 1 land tap.
That's so good. This is a very, very, very niche deck, but also it's not very expensive. Like, it only runs 10 rares.
Exactly.
So technically, it's in the realm of budget.
In the realm of budget. In fact, in the realm of budget for paper as well. So if you guys play physical Magic and you want to get into Standard, this is an option.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you for sharing with that.
Absolutely. And if you haven't already, we do ask you subscribe to the Cloudpost, like the video, and leave us a comment if you enjoyed this type of content.